Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Reviews of Tyberius D. Today we're going to be trying something new. Instead of a whole video review or a whole thing of a movie or a TV show, one of the things I've been wanting to do for a while is take some of these video segments about an engagement, particularly a military battle or what have you, where you have a versus conversation or a versus thing in a movie or a game or what have you, and we talk about what happens, whether it's like realistic, valid, intelligent, done well, all that stuff, right? And the first one I got for you, and I wanted to be our good friend counterpoints to this, is the engagement from Fury, where 4 Shermans engage a Tiger tank. And this is going to be a lot of fun because this is a really well done movie. I do have some problems with it. I'll eventually cover that in its own little review. But roll that intro and we'll get to it. All right, everyone, welcome back. I am going to fix my camera because for some reason it just won't hold it as soon as the camera goes off. But Fury, 4 Shermans, 1 Tiger. Let's do it. I guess I should have skipped ahead a little bit, but my mistake. So they're traveling in formation as they usually do. Technical column and bam. Okay, so probably should have paused and then talked about it. They're just going about their regular day. They're traveling in line, and all of a sudden they're engaged. Problem right away with this. It's not that it's completely unrealistic. It's not completely undoable. But the problem here is that in armored warfare, when you engage an armored column, the first thing that you shoot is the leading tank. Because, one, you stop everybody who's following them. They either have to get out of the way, they have to readdress what they're doing. When you shoot the back one, everyone can keep moving forward, and they can egress out of the area. That's not something that you want when you're engaging an armored column. The order of operations when you engage an armored column is that you shoot the lead tank first, and then you shoot the aft end. And that whether it's an armored column, a mechanized column, or a motorized column, is that anytime you want to engage people, you want to trap them, you can systematically eliminate them with one gun if you hit the lead vehicle, then the trailing vehicle, and then you work your way through the middle on that. Depends on the unit's SOA. Leaves. All right, Sam, I figured you'd want to get on this one. All right, so cool. So a little bit of a problem here. Engagement has started, and they didn't hit the lead vehicle. So let's move on.
Hard left, reverse. Fuck. Back up, hard left. Pass is back up. Go. Let's go. Go. Hard stick. The fuck was it?
All right, before the next shot goes off, I want to talk about this. This is absolutely something that you want to do. They know that it came from the right-hand side. And as a tanker, even all the way back in World War II, your best armor is going to be on the front of the tank. You don't want to be getting popped from the side. So, even if you are still technically your armor would be ineffective against the weapon that is being shot at you, you still want to put your best armor face forward because that obviously is your best armor. And you want to be able to hang into that fight. And that is definitely something that we're seeing here in particular, is that they're trying to face towards whatever gun is engaging them. And we'll pick it back up.
98, it's a goddamn tank. Where the fuck is it? Tank! 12 o'clock, 800 yards. I see it, it's a goddamn Tiger. Put some fucking smoke in his face. Let's go, Grady, smoke up, Grady. On the wide!
All right, a couple notes I want to add on to this. Number one, wonderful fun thing. We get to see Shermans engage a Tiger. That's pretty cool. Here's one of the weird things. This comes from Nicholas Moran. He is he's a military historian. He works for Wargaming. According to the information that he has and that I have seen, is that the Allies in all of the Western Front engaged Tiger 3 times. The first time, the Sherman won. The second time, the Pershing lost. And the third time, they were loading it up onto a trailer, and that doesn't really count. And so, to a large degree, in a general sense here, is that more often than not, is that actual Tiger 1s were engaged either in North Africa or were largely deployed to the Eastern Front. What most of the Allied tankers would fight if they were in a tank-on-tank engagement, and that's actually pretty rare, was they were going up against Panthers and they were going against Tiger 2s, and mostly it's just Panthers. You would also have a significant amount of Panzer 4s, but largely at this point in the war, because this is April 1945, is that the Panzer IV had been, it was still in production, but had largely been favored more in the Panther, because the Panther had gotten most of its nooks and crannies worked out by this point to where it was actually a really decent tank. Originally, when it was first launched, it was an absolute piece of shit. But later on in the war, particularly with Albert Speer and most of the renovations he does to the industrial sector of Germany during 44, is that they're able to produce more Panther tanks in 1 year than they had made of all tanks in all previous years together. And that's quite astonishing, if you're considering when you're on the losing front of the war. This makes me... Okay. Sam, do I need you to give you mod just so you calm down again? Is that where you're getting in? You're getting into like a little bit of TOS levels. Have you served? No. Okay, cool. Give me a second here. Lash mod at Samantha. Okay, cool. Calm down. All right, now that you have that, yeah, Tiger 2, King Tiger, definitely like. Panther tanks are pretty cool. Oh, wow, look at your name. Look at that name. Can I have a sword? Actually, you know what, Neo, you're solid. You actually were on the candidate list to get sorted. Wait. Oh, okay, you're just deleting people for reasons. Okay, whatever. There you go, Neo. Remind me to do that in Discord as well. Actually, I'll just... never mind. Sorry. We need to get back to the review. Stop ignoring my review. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about is they put smoke in his face. Absolutely a good idea, because you're at range. That 88 is a hell of a weapon, even though it's the L56, which is not amazing, but it's still pretty good. But at this point, we're down to 3 Shermans versus 1 Tiger. Go.
Get to the crossroads. We gotta get past them. John, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go.
Unless he drowns himself in the shit-filled ditch, he's our problem. Hit that son of a bitch! No more smoke!
Hide the bastard! Why? Shoot that fucker! Firewood ready! Stop!
Fertig machen. Panzergranate laden. All right, all tanks, move forward. Fuck.
Get him, right flank, right stick. Davis.
Left with me, stay abreast.
Let's go right at him.
Order, left flank. Let's bum rush this cocksucker.
Right stick, taking the right flank.
Oh, hold on here. Can I go back to that at all? We're at 13 seconds.
Me, stay abreast.
I want to hit this one real quick.
Order, left flank. Let's bum rush this cocksucker.
Okay, so I want to talk about what we have here, because we have Shermans, but they're all different models of Shermans. And I want to talk about what happened here. Okay, so they backed up, they assessed the target, they realized it was a Tiger 1, that it's got the 88 L56. It's a problem. They put smoke in the face to obscure the vision, and so the Tiger largely cannot see to shoot for shit. Good idea, great tactical soundness, largely works. What the hell are you all doing in chat? Anyway, going forward with this, they have to engage. War Daddy, the main character here, which is Brad Pitt, says, look, no, this is our mission. We have to deal with this Tiger. Okay, cool. So we've got the rest of the platoon. They're going to get forward because they need to engage. And to actually quote the manual itself for a tanker, if you cannot physically engage in the current range that you are at against your enemy, charge. So this is what they're going to do. Okay, one other thing I want to mention is that we have different Shermans here. We have one of the original model Shermans, which is in the middle here, and you can barely see it, but it's got the 75 millimeter gun. It's I think it's about a 44 caliber. I can't remember. This gun is largely... I'm actually surprised that they put this. I don't know if it's historically accurate, because while tankers would use the same tanks throughout the war until largely it was either broken or they got replaced or they were shot out, this kind of tank has not been in production for the better part of a year. And most of them have transitioned into newer models. In fact, most of the ones that you can see are the ones that are either closer to you or the one further away. And I want to talk a little bit about them. The one in the back is an M2A or is an M4A1. Now, this is the one that gets the first version of the 76 millimeter gun, and it gets the T23 turret, if I remember correctly, is what they do. They put a bigger turret on it from a test tank, and they put the the 76 millimeter gun on it. Largely the exact same ammunition and everything as the 75. There's a few different changes here, but to a large degree, what you're going on with here, what's happening, is that the Americans wanted to upgun their weaponry, and largely what this is that they're not getting a bigger caliber, they're making the barrel longer, so you get more increased muzzle velocity, and your armor-piercing rounds are more effective. And these have been being built since largely 1943. So I'm actually surprised that, at least for this movie, claiming that this is in April of 45, that we have the middle tank at all. But you can definitely tell by the way that the turret is shaped, and more particularly the hull. This is an A1. Now, Fury, the War Daddy's tank. I'm not sure what this is. This might be an A2. This might be an A3. Now, everyone goes, oh, it's an Easy 8. No, it's not an Easy 8. It might be an Easy 8, but what people largely attribute is that they see an M4A3E8, and that's not always the case. Now, what we do have here is HVSS, which I believe is the Easy 6 program, but it might be the Easy 8. I forget. I apologize. Pretty sure it's Easy 6. You have the 76 millimeter gun. You have the T23 turret. Makes most of the things. Here's the big issue. I can't tell you if it's an A2 or an A3, because the A3 is the one with the diesel engine. The A2 is the one, I think, with a gasoline engine, or it's either the aircraft radial or the Continental. I apologize, I can't remember. Not a bad engine, but needs some work. Anyway, what we're getting at here is that a lot of people are just like, oh, Easy 8, not necessarily the case. In fact, even back in World War II, tanks that weren't an Easy 8 were labeled Easy 8s, and it makes it even worse to actually understand. And so, in a nutshell, to put this forward, is that a lot of people attribute this tank and this engagement as an Easy 8. It's not. It's definitely an M4 Sherman. It's probably an A2 or an A3. It absolutely has the 76 millimeter, and it would literally say M4, A2, or A3, 76 with HVSS. Not Easy 8. And it's probably most likely an Easy 6. Okay. They're about to engage. They're charging forward. Let's get back at it.
Coming out!
Feuerfrei!
Owner, AP! Hit him! On one!
Just as a quick thing, we see these tanks moving, they're shooting. World War II is the first time that we start seeing stabilizers in tanks to where you can shoot on the move. Supposedly the Sherman is actually the best, and particularly the model that War Daddy has in this, is that the quick fix turret has a gyroscopic stabilizer in it that will stabilize the gun. Problem, from what I remember and from what I've been told, is that to a large degree the stabilizer doesn't work until the very end of the war because it keeps breaking. And so it's really hard to shoot on the move with any kind of tank. And so with both tanks moving, it's really hard to engage. And of course the Tiger's not really built to do this. It's actually a breakthrough tank. It's not even built to move that much. It's largely just to get in the fight, draw most of the fire and the attention so that the light and medium tanks can move around it, flank your enemies, and break through the lines together. Engage.
Gyro's on!
What do you want, Tom?
Owner, AP! Smash him!
You're clear, boy! AP, 500 yards! Fire!
Again! Fuck, put it in now!
On the wide!
Oh,
God! God damn it!
that's pretty graphic. It's been a while since I've watched this.
On the wall!
Okay, two things I want to hit on. We have the Tiger engaging versus these Shermans. We just saw three, or better part of three shots hit the front of the Tiger and it bounced off. The Tiger has pretty sufficient armor. It's pretty good. It's about 4 inches thick. The Sherman is largely under the modicum that it's actually a tin can, that you can punch a hole right through it. That's actually not the case. Looking at the Shermans from start to finish, whether they were 1941 models or 1945 models, is that they all had about the same amount of armor. And the only difference is that the angling of slope is that its effective armor is actually not too terribly far from what a Tiger's is. Here's the two differences. Number one, the 76 millimeter gun is pretty damn effective, but it can only punch through a Tiger at about 1,000 feet. And it might be 1,000 yards, but I'm pretty sure it's 1,000 feet is where it can punch through the front. And we're not there yet. We're at 500 yards, 1,500 feet. The other thing here is that the Tiger's 88 millimeter gun, even though it's not actually the long barrel version, is that it's got a lot more mass, it's got a lot more weight behind it, and even with a lower lower muzzle velocity, it's got a shitload of kinetic energy, and it can go through the front of a Sherman. So yes, this is the engagement that we're seeing right here, is that this first Sherman, or actually technically the second Sherman, has now been knocked out after having its crew commander killed. And so he's now out of the fight, and probably his crew is entirely dead. I'm actually surprised we don't have an ammo cook-off.
They got Peterson!
God!
It's a fucking beast! Gordo, flank left, left! Davis, cross! Flank right!
Copy! Right stick!
I didn't talk about this earlier when they said to have the other guy go right, but I want to definitely talk about it now. So the reason why they're doing this is largely to keep a larger field of fire. It gives you two different targets to look at. That's always a problem for a tank crew because you've got one gun, and that means basically the tank commander is going to have to worry about what the gunner's looking at, and then the tank commander is going to have to look at the other target, identify it, keep it locked, and then have that next target engaged after the original one that the gunner is looking at dispatched. And so it's largely keeping the tank crew busy, but it's also giving rounds to give flanking fire. Now, actually, that's a bad thing here in some degree because all this does is that it gives an angling to the front of the Tiger tank, which makes its armor actually a little bit more effective. But that's not the bad thing to do in this particular circumstance.
Traverse left! Davis is lining up!
Fire!
Then shoot the son of a bitch. He's lining up on Roy.
God damn it! I said fire! Fire!
And we're down to one Sherman. The two things that I wanted to note on this is that we saw the guy cranking. This version of the Sherman should have an electric drive. Now, if I remember right, one of the problems that's happened very recently is they're having mechanical issues, and the electric turret traverse is not working correctly. Correction, it might actually be a hydraulic turret traverse. I apologize. But thoughts on the U-look maneuver? Not very familiar with that, and I apologize. I'm kind of looking at two different screens here. I'd have to look that up, actually. But we've now had two tanks trying to engage the target. You, the camera, are the target. They've split up, but now my right flank is done, and now I'm by myself. And this is War Daddy going into the final phase of this fight. This is where this fight actually starts losing believability for me, and we'll talk about it here in just a second.
God damn it! Fuck!
Roy's gone. We're all that's left.
It's up to us now.
Gordo, get around him. Put us on his backside.
We get behind him, we can kill him. Go! Okay, make it.
God damn it!
And this is where it all goes to shit. Okay, the use of machine guns for both tank crews, absolutely correct. What that does is that basically it pelts the inside of the canopy, and while it will be absolutely ineffective against the armor of the tank, is that it does make noise for the crew to have to deal with. It will help distract them, make them lose their concentration. That is a correct thing to do. Here's the problem that I'm at. These tanks are really goddamn close. One, I don't know what the angle is on this, but guessing by what the angle is compared to what we just saw, that shell should go through and Fury should be dead. It's not enough of an angle to actively counteract the armor sloping, because if you have enough angle, it's pretty much going to automatically bounce. From the angle that I'm looking at, I would assume that this is every bit of about a 60-degree angle, and at that, you're talking about an 88 millimeter round going through the better part of, I think it's only about 40 millimeters of armor. It might even be less. It's only about an inch thick on that side. That's going through. And War Daddy would be out of this fight right here and right now. So this is number one issue that I have. Number two, why are these tanks so goddamn close at this point? Don't get me wrong. They can engage each other, but at this range... Missed that, just clipped off the side stuff. Yeah, like it's implied in the movie for theatrical effect that it hit the side, it bounced off. I'm saying this is probably wrong. Now, I might be incorrect here. I can't tell exactly what the angle is, and there's some calculations to go in this. But the way that I'm looking at this, that shell should have gone through.
God damn it, fuck! What was that? Was that hit?
I lost it. Buddy, you alright?
Ah, shit! Fuck! No controversy with your manual!
Fight for you say to fight! I'm hit it! On what?
Okay, here's the other thing. We just saw the Sherman engage. Now, it looked like it hit the turret, and the turret's the hardest armored part of the Tiger. But at this range, at least from what I can see, they're less than 100 yards apart. And that 76 millimeter gun has got a lot of penetration at that level. That will go through the turret. So the Tiger should be out of the fight at this point. Now, maybe I'd be wrong here. I'd have to rewind it, and this particular player is a pain in the ass to deal with. He might have hit the lower part of the mantlet, in which maybe that survives. But to a large degree, if you're shooting AP out of the 76 millimeter at this range, there is almost no part outside of maybe the mantlet itself where that ain't going through. So this fight should have been over twice now.
Come around!
Order, you gotta outrun that gun!
Oh, I got it!
Fire!
That's believable. It's just one hell of a lucky shot. Or at least lucky shot for the crew, because it literally just skips off the front. But at that angle, it absolutely would do that. Because it literally just glances at the top.
Put it there, right stick.
Bible, put it up his ass!
Well, the armor's thin.
I know to fucking hit him!
Next thing. Perfect shot, perfect firing angle to the side. At this range, look, they're literally probably the better part of 30 feet apart at best. You've put a round through his side, even with the angling that you're at, it's going straight through. This fight should be over. And I hate that they're going with the whole motif that you have to shoot the Tiger directly in the ass to beat him. And this is the entire point from the rest of the way on. This fight should have been over about 30 seconds ago in this fight.
Shit!
God damn it, I sent the ass!
We're moving too fast! It's not that fucking easy!
Come on, boys, stay on it! Order, when I say back up, you back up, left stick.
Alright!
Bible, stand by, I'll call the shot.
Roger!
Order, now, reverse, left stick! Bible, steady.
Okay, this part doesn't make sense to me at all, because what we saw is that we had the Sherman backwards. Sherman coming into the side. He's got the target on lock. We got the Tiger largely with his barrel facing towards the Sherman, and now they're reversing. You're literally getting away from what you're doing. And I don't know if this is just one of the weird things about the movie where they're trying to be action, suspense. But logistically and realistically, this doesn't make any damn sense. You're now getting into the front of the tank, which you said you weren't even trying to do, and you've got this big-ass fucking honking gun that's pointed directly at you that you've now taken 2 rounds from, and you're still somehow on the fight. Okay.
Steady! Look, you got it out!
Come on, Bible! Come on, fucking shoot him!
Steady!
One more! One more! Quick! Again! Unwind!
Okay, so this is largely the end of engagement. They'll kill the tank commander and what have you. All right, here's the final notes I really want to put into this particular engagement that I want to talk about. And that is, number one, the Tiger never is seen. And the problem is there's a spacing, a timing issue here. I have no idea between the actions of when we see people operating like this and when it actually happens, because time can overlap. When it comes to a movie, they're showing us from a different angle what's happening at the same time. So this might have been the better part of just like 3 or 4 seconds and quick reload, like, you know, rapid action reload, put it through, shoot again. I'm actually surprised the Tiger didn't get another shot off on him. Either way, that being said, is again, I don't really understand what it's. They're like, oh, reverse. They had to go exactly the way they were going to get to where they were to engage that last shot. And so that doesn't make any damn sense to me. And the final part is that the Tiger tank doesn't turn. The Tiger's got independent traction to itself. It can turn, and it doesn't. And like this tank crew must be one of the most absolutely noob tank crews ever to absolutely allow their ass in to get shot like that. But again, it wouldn't really matter because these tanks were way too close, and any point that they were going to hit each other, they should have gone through. Thank you for doing this. Absolutely. So I'm going to end with this engagement. If you guys have any particular questions, we can definitely ask that. We can go over that real quick before we close out, and then we'll go on to another review that I've been wanting to do because I've got all this shit stacked. So I'll give you about 30 seconds to ask any questions regarding this, and then we'll close this particular review episode out, and we'll move to the next thing that I've been needing to do. Okay, what do we got here? Question: what does this have to do with capitalism? Nothing. That was a while ago. Is your thing not changed? I thought I changed it like 3 different times, but anyway, got nothing. All right, fantastic. We're gonna roll the outro real quick. Thank you everyone for joining us and being a part of this. If you're watching this, the stream is not ending. We're just rolling an outro. And we'll be moving on to our next thing here in just a second. So we'll be right back.